Welcome. In this video we're going to talk about the writing checks. Now these assignments are a little bit different than the quizzes or the learning checks. There's still opportunities for you to show proficiency, but the way you'll do it is by writing up a problem very neatly, submitting a copy of your handwritten work to the instructor, and then having your instructor grade that and give you feedback. So it is another way for you to show proficiency, but it's going to work differently than the quizzes or the learning checks. Before you start a writing check, I highly encourage you to go to the syllabus and links folder and look for the writing check scoring guides link. When you open that, you will see a scoring guide to every single writing check in the course. You'll see over here on the left potentially a table of contents so you can skip around very quickly. But what you'll notice here is that this document is going to tell you precisely what you need to score a proficiency at a proficiency level of 4 or 3, which you need to be able to check this off your proficiency list later in the quarter. So notice that to get a 4, you would need to follow all of these criteria that are listed. To get a 3, you'll see here information provided for how you will get that. And then for a 1 or 2, which is not showing proficiency, that will give you some information about what might cause you to get that lower score. Remember that on these assignments, you either show proficiency or not. So the way you're going to do that on a writing check is to score either 3 or a 4. Think of 4 as total proficiency. You basically haven't made any mistakes except maybe for some really minor things. A 3 might be you essentially know how to do it, but you have some minor errors here and there. They don't really take away from showing that you've learned something, but they are not quite at the level of a 4. And a 1 or 2 basically just means you have not shown proficiency. So make sure you read this very carefully before you begin a writing check. Once you do begin a writing check, let's go back and open one up. So I'll do that here in the Show Your Learning folder. We'll go to Learning Outcome 2, and in the Learning and Writing Checks folder, we'll open up Writing Check number 2. And notice that it's going to look different. There's just going to be some quick overview here that gives you information about how many points are possible. There's your maximum 4. And the time limit here is 75 minutes. So you have an hour and 15 minutes to write this problem up. And again, if you have been doing all the homework, the quizzes, and the learning checks, you should be prepared to be able to complete this in 75 minutes without any major problems. So once you start that assignment, the clock will start ticking. You'll be reminded that you need to show your work neatly, and it needs to follow the guidelines that have been provided to you. This is actually part of your proficiency grade. If it's not neat and it cannot be read, then it will not be deemed as showing proficiency. There will really only be one question on a writing check for the most part. When you open it, you'll see parts displayed in boxes that you'll need to complete. The first one will be the honor code, and you do need to agree fully to abide by the honor code. And just like the quizzes and the learning checks, you do need to work alone. So you are not allowed to get help from other people on the writing checks other than from the instructor. And you need to make sure that you only present and submit work that is your own. Once you get past the honor code, you will see the problem you're supposed to solve in the second box under Part A. Make sure you use a blank sheet of paper and that no other problems appear on that piece of paper. Be very careful to read the problem carefully and answer all parts of it, following any instructions that are given to you. In some cases, the scoring guide that I just showed you will also be available as a link to remind you of what it is that you need to pay attention to. In this particular problem, you can see it has to do with Mayan numbers and converting Mayan numbers. So the scoring guide is going to tell you that you need to convert accurately and that you need to include accurate Mayan symbols, just like the problem asks you to here in part 2. On your paper, handwrite the final base 2 numbers using Mayan symbols. So make sure you very, very carefully read through the criteria and that you follow those. Once you're finished writing up your solution, you're going to type a really quick summary of your answer. So in this particular problem, it's asking you to type the final answer, and it even gives you a little bit of a clue about what it should look like so that you would know basically what you're supposed to be typing and then filling in the numbers that you got for your solution. And you would basically type that quick response right here. So something like this base 10 number, and then you would continue. Okay, so once you do that, then you're going to add work to the problem. Now, if you run out of time, it's okay, because you'll be able to do it right after the time ends. But basically, if you do have time left over, you can click that Add Work button to open up the Add Work box, and you can drag a clear and visible picture of your work from your computer desktop into this box here and let it upload. There are other videos here in the course on how to do this, so I will not repeat that here, but you will upload this, your work, into this box, and then when you're done, make sure that you submit and end. You may want to save progress as you go along. When you click Submit and End, it will confirm that you're ready to end. Click OK, right? And then make sure that you save your work. If there's no work here, make sure you re-upload. Click Save when you're done, and then it'll tell you your assignment has been submitted. Now keep in mind that this has to be graded by the instructor, so you will not get any feedback until the instructor grades it and puts that feedback into your WAMAP gradebook. Once they have done that for you, you can look at the feedback and see what might be there. If you get a 3 or a 4, you would be done with the writing check. If you get less than a 3 or a 4 and have not yet shown proficiency, the instructor will provide feedback telling you what you would need to do in order to reattempt that writing check. Once you look at that feedback, you'll then want to go and use one of your tokens to request a second attempt on the writing check. Now, keep in mind that writing checks by default only have one attempt. That's because the instructor has to grade it and give you that feedback, so it stops at 1. But it's also important to keep in mind that because you only have one attempt on a writing check, you'll want to really be sure you understand the ideas in that learning outcome. And the way you would do that is, again, you go back, regenerate homework problems, review your quiz and your learning check work, and make sure you understand all of the different topics and ideas that are related to that learning outcome before you start your writing check. Once you've done that, then you can start it and hopefully do well and earn that proficiency mark that will help you attain the grade that you want. So that's a little bit about the writing checks, and that concludes this video.